To hear the voice of God is not about straining to capture some distant, thunderous command. It is about attuning yourself to the silence within. The divine does not compete with the noise of daily life. It speaks in whispers, in the spaces between thoughts, and in the gentle rhythm of the present moment. To hear clearly, we must first embrace stillness, unlearn our expectations, and open ourselves to the profound simplicity of simply being. Silence is not merely the absence of sound, it is a state of profound receptivity, a gateway through which we connect with the deeper essence of life. In a world that thrives on activity, noise, and constant stimulation, silence can feel elusive, even uncomfortable. Yet it is in this space of stillness that we find the clarity needed to hear what cannot be spoken aloud, the voice of God, the essence of truth, and the subtle rhythms of the universe. In silence we confront a paradox. Though it appears empty, it is brimming with potential. It is not a void to be feared, but a space to be embraced. Much like the fertile ground that lies dormant in winter, silence holds the seeds of wisdom and revelation, waiting patiently to sprout in the receptive heart. But to access this richness, we must first learn to quiet the incessant chatter of our minds. The thoughts, worries, and judgments that fill our inner landscape act as barriers, keeping us from truly hearing the divine whisper that resides beneath the surface. Our modern lives are filled with distractions, each pulling us further away from the stillness we need. We are conditioned to equate productivity with worth, movement with progress, and noise with significance. The idea of sitting quietly, doing nothing, can feel almost counterproductive or even wasteful. Yet it is in those moments of intentional stillness that we create the space for divine connection. By stepping away from the clamor of the world and the compulsive need to act or achieve, we open ourselves to a different kind of presence, one that listens rather than speaks, feels rather than reacts. Silence also requires trust. When we are silent, we relinquish control, letting go of the need to fill the space with words, actions, or solutions. It is an act of surrender, a demonstration of faith that the answers we seek will arise not through force, but through patience and receptivity. This trust is essential, because the voice of God is not loud or intrusive. It does not demand our attention. Instead, it waits gently, ready to be heard when we are prepared to listen. In this way, silence becomes not just a practice, but a posture, a way of being that is open and attuned to the subtle movements of the spirit. To sit in silence is to engage in a conversation without words. It is an invitation to commune with the infinite, to become aware of the interconnectedness of all things. In this state, the boundaries between self and other, noise and quiet, fade away, revealing a deeper unity. This is where we encounter God not as an external entity to be sought, but as an intimate presence that has been with us all along. The act of listening then becomes a sacred practice, a form of worship that requires nothing more than our full attention. Silence also teaches us humility. It reminds us that we do not have all the answers, that our understanding is limited, and that there is a wisdom far greater than our own. By embracing silence, we acknowledge our smallness in the vast expanse of creation, yet we also recognize our place within it. This paradoxical awareness of being both insignificant and deeply connected is where true clarity arises. It is in this space that we hear God most clearly, not because he has suddenly begun to speak, but because we have finally begun to listen. The beauty of silence is that it is always available to us, no matter how noisy the world becomes. We do not need to escape to a remote mountaintop or cloister ourselves in a quiet room to access it. Silence is not about the absence of sound, but the presence of awareness. It is a choice we make, moment by moment, to turn inward, to be still, and to listen with the ears of the heart. Through this practice, we discover that the voice of God has been there all along, waiting patiently for us to hear. Noise surrounds us constantly, filling our lives with sound, chatter, and the relentless hum of activity. Yet, what if noise itself is an illusion? What if the clamor we perceive as real and unshakable is merely a layer, masking a deeper, quieter truth? To understand this, we must look beyond the surface of our experiences and explore the nature of noise, both external and internal, and how it keeps us from hearing what truly matters. Noise, in its most obvious form, comes from the world around us. It is the honking of horns, the buzz of conversations, the notifications on our phones, and the persistent demands of a society that never seems to pause. These sounds and distractions compete for our attention, pulling us in countless directions. They create an environment where quiet seems impossible, where stillness feels out of reach. Yet this external noise is not the problem itself. It is our relationship to it, our unexamined belief that it must be acknowledged, answered, or engaged with that traps us. Beneath the external noise lies an even greater challenge than noise within. This inner chatter is relentless and often more disruptive than anything happening outside of us. It manifests as a stream of thoughts, worries, judgments, and memories that fill the mind. We replay past events, anticipate future scenarios, and narrate the present moment, rarely pausing to consider whether this mental noise serves us. It becomes a kind of static, clouding our ability to connect with the present moment and obscuring the still, quiet voice of truth that resides within us. What makes noise both external and internal an illusion is its impermanence. Like waves on the surface of the ocean, it may seem overwhelming in its intensity, but it is not the totality of existence. Beneath the crashing waves lies the calm, infinite depth of the ocean itself. Similarly, the noise that dominates our awareness is temporary and insubstantial, covering the deeper, unchanging silence that is always present. This silence is not merely the absence of sound, it is the ground of being, the space in which all things arise and dissolve. When we begin to see noise as an illusion, we recognize that we have a choice in how we respond to it. Instead of being carried away by every sound or thought, we can learn to observe it without attachment. We can allow noise to come and go, knowing it does not define us and does not have to control our attention. This shift in perspective transforms noise from a source of distraction into an opportunity for awareness. It becomes a reminder to return to the stillness that lies beneath, to the place where clarity and peace reside. This understanding does not mean we must eliminate all noise from our lives, nor is it practical to do so. The world will continue to hum with activity, and our minds will produce thoughts it is their nature. What changes is our perception. We stop seeing noise as something to fight against or escape from, and instead see it as a transient phenomenon. In this way, we free ourselves from the grip of noise, finding peace even in the midst of chaos. When we detach from the illusion of noise, we create space to hear what truly matters. The divine, the infinite, does not compete with noise. It does not shout to be heard. Instead, it waits in the silence, in the spaces between sounds, in the quiet moments we so often overlook. By shifting our focus from the surface to the depth, we discover that the voice of God, of truth, has always been present, speaking softly, patiently, beneath the noise. Noise, then, becomes not an obstacle but a teacher. It points us toward the silence we have forgotten, the stillness that is our true nature. By embracing this silence, we transcend the illusion of noise and reconnect with the essence of who we are, a presence that is vast, unshaken, and deeply attuned to the voice of the divine. The voice within is a profound and often misunderstood phenomenon. It is not the loud, insistent chatter of the mind that demands attention, nor the echo of societal expectations that influences our decisions. Instead, it is a quiet, steady presence, a whisper that arises from the depths of our being. This inner voice is the language of the soul, a direct connection to the divine, offering guidance, clarity, and truth. To hear it, we must first learn to distinguish it from the countless other voices that fill our minds and lives. At its core, the voice within speaks the language of intuition. It does not argue or persuade, it simply presents itself with a sense of knowing that cannot be easily explained. It is the feeling of certainty that arises without evidence, the nudge that pulls us in a particular direction, even when logic points elsewhere. This voice is subtle, often overshadowed by the noise of our thoughts and fears. Yet it is always present, waiting for us to quiet the distractions and listen. Listening to the inner voice requires stillness, not just external quiet, but an inner calmness that allows us to tune into its frequency. This stillness is cultivated through practices like meditation, prayer, or simply moments of mindful awareness. When we are present, fully immersed in the here and now, we create the space for this voice to emerge. It does not shout or demand, it is patient, waiting for us to be ready to hear. One of the challenges in hearing the voice within is the skepticism we often bring to it. We live in a world that values evidence, reason, and external validation, which can make it difficult to trust something as intangible as intuition. Yet the voice within is not irrational, it operates on a deeper logic, one that aligns with the rhythms of the universe and the wisdom of our true selves. To trust this voice is to trust the divine guidance that flows through us, even when it defies conventional understanding. This inner voice is not separate from us, it is a part of who we are. It speaks to our highest selves, reminding us of our purpose, our values, and our connection to something greater. It guides us toward choices that align with our truest nature, often challenging us to grow, to step into the unknown, or to embrace paths that require courage and faith. It is not always the easiest voice to follow, but it is invariably the one that leads us to fulfillment and authenticity. The voice within also serves as a moral compass, steering us toward love, compassion, and integrity. When we stray from these principles, it gently calls us back, not with judgment but with understanding. It is a voice of grace, reflecting the divine's unending patience and desire for us to live in alignment with our highest potential. To hear the voice within is to connect with the sacred essence of life. It requires trust, stillness, and an open heart. When we attune ourselves to this voice, we discover that it has been guiding us all along, a constant source of wisdom and love that is as close to us as our own breath. In its quiet presence, we find clarity, purpose, and the profound realization that we are never truly alone. Detaching from expectation is one of the most liberating and transformative practices we can embrace. Expectations, while natural, often tether us to specific outcomes, limiting our ability to fully experience the present moment and connect with the divine flow of life. They are like mental blueprints of how we believe things should unfold, shaped by our desires, fears, and past experiences. While they can provide a sense of direction, they also create resistance when life moves differently than we anticipated. Letting go of these expectations opens the door to deeper clarity, peace, and an authentic relationship with the unknown. When we approach life with rigid expectations, we place constraints on the infinite possibilities available to us. We demand that the world conform to our vision, often ignoring the subtle signs and opportunities that arise outside our predetermined path. Expectations create a narrow lens, filtering out anything that doesn't align with our preconceived notions. In doing so, we can miss the quiet guidance of the divine, which often operates beyond the limits of our understanding and in ways we cannot predict. Detachment does not mean abandoning our goals, dreams, or intentions. It is not about becoming indifferent or passive. Instead, it is about holding these aspirations lightly, allowing room for life to unfold in ways that may surprise us. It is the recognition that while we can control our actions and choices, we cannot control outcomes. By releasing our grip on how things must happen, we create space for grace to work through us, bringing outcomes that are often more profound and fulfilling than we could have imagined. At the heart of detachment is trust, a deep faith in the process of life and in the divine wisdom that orchestrates it. Trusting means believing that even when things do not go as planned, they are unfolding exactly as they should for our growth and highest good. It requires surrendering the illusion of control and embracing the mystery of the unknown. This surrender is not a sign of weakness, but a profound act of strength and humility, acknowledging that we are part of something greater than ourselves. Detaching from expectation also liberates us from suffering. Much of our pain arises not from what happens, but from the gap between reality and our expectations of it. When we cling to specific outcomes, we set ourselves up for disappointment, frustration, and resentment. Letting go of these attachments allows us to flow with life rather than against it, finding peace even in uncertainty. It enables us to embrace the present moment fully, seeing it for what it is rather than what we think it should be. Practicing detachment transforms our relationship with ourselves, others, and the divine. It invites us to approach life with curiosity and openness, recognizing that every experience holds value, even if it doesn't align with our plans. It deepens our ability to listen, to hear God's voice, not as a confirmation of our desires, but as a guide toward what we truly need. In this state of openness, we become more attuned to the subtle movements of the Spirit, discovering a deeper harmony with the flow of life. When we detach from expectation, we find freedom. Freedom to be present. Freedom to trust. Freedom to discover the beauty and wisdom of what is, rather than what we hoped would be. This freedom is not just a release from suffering, but an invitation to live more fully, guided by the divine unfolding of life itself. In letting go, we gain everything, for we align ourselves with the boundless possibilities of the infinite. Faith in mystery is a profound act of trust, a willingness to embrace the unknown with an open heart and mind. It is the recognition that life, in all its complexity and depth, cannot be fully understood or controlled by human reasoning. To have faith in mystery is to step into the vast expanse of the unseen and unexplainable, allowing ourselves to be guided not by certainty, but by an inner sense of connection to something greater than ourselves. This faith is not blind, it is an acknowledgement of the sacred truth that the divine often operates beyond the limits of our comprehension. Life is filled with uncertainties, moments where the path ahead is unclear, and outcomes are shrouded in ambiguity. Our natural inclination is to seek answers, to resolve the tension of not knowing by clinging to explanations or assumptions. Yet the divine is not found in the rigid structures of certainty, but in the fluid, ever-unfolding dance of mystery. By resisting the urge to force understanding, we create space to experience life as it is a tapestry woven with threads of the known and the unknown. Faith in mystery requires humility. It asks us to release the need for control, and to accept that some questions may never be answered, at least not in ways we expect or desire. This is not a defeat, but an invitation to participate in the unfolding of life with wonder and curiosity. It is an act of surrender that acknowledges our limitations while affirming our connection to the infinite wisdom that underlies all existence. In this surrender, we find freedom not from challenges or uncertainty, but from the burden of needing to have everything figured out. The beauty of faith in mystery lies in its transformative power. When we let go of the demand for clear answers, we open ourselves to the unexpected. The unknown becomes not a source of fear, but a fertile ground for growth and revelation. It is often in the moments of deepest uncertainty that we experience the most profound insights, the ones that cannot be neatly articulated but resonate in the very core of our being. These moments remind us that mystery is not a void, but a living presence, a divine force that moves through and around us, inviting us to trust its rhythm. This faith also deepens our relationship with the divine. To embrace mystery is to acknowledge that God is not limited by our understanding or expectations. It is to recognize that the sacred speaks in ways that transcend human language, appearing in the silence, in the spaces between thoughts, and in the gentle whispers of intuition. By trusting this mystery, we allow ourselves to be guided by a wisdom that is both intimate and infinite, one that leads us not where we think we should go, but where we truly need to be. Faith in mystery is not about abandoning reason or dismissing the importance of seeking knowledge. It is about balancing our quest for understanding with the acceptance that some aspects of existence are meant to remain beyond our grasp. In this balance we find peace, for we no longer resist the unknown but embrace it as an integral part of the divine plan. This faith transforms uncertainty from an obstacle into an opportunity, a sacred invitation to step into the flow of life with courage, trust, and awe. Trusting intuition is about reconnecting with a deeply ingrained but often overlooked aspect of our inner guidance system. Intuition is not a magical or mysterious force that exists outside of us. It is an inherent part of who we are, a quiet voice that arises from the depths of our being. It is the wisdom that emerges when the mind is still, unclouded by overthinking or the noise of external influences. To trust intuition is to trust ourselves and the divine guidance that speaks through us in subtle, often wordless ways. Intuition manifests in many forms of feeling in the gut, a sudden sense of clarity, or a knowing that seems to arise without explanation. It does not shout or argue, it gently nudges us in a particular direction. This quiet nature is precisely why intuition is so easily ignored. In a world dominated by logic, evidence, and external validation, trusting a feeling that lacks a concrete explanation can feel risky or even foolish. Yet intuition often sees what the conscious mind cannot. It perceives patterns, connections, and truths that lie beneath the surface, offering insights that are both profound and practical. One of the key challenges in trusting intuition is overcoming doubt. We are conditioned to prioritize rationality and dismiss anything that cannot be measured or proven. This skepticism can lead us to second-guess our instincts, seeking reassurance from outside sources rather than listening to the wisdom within. However, intuition is not opposed to reason, it complements it. While logic helps us analyze and plan, intuition offers a deeper perspective, one that is often guided by the divine or the subconscious workings of our minds. It bridges the gap between the seen and unseen, the known and the unknown. Cultivating trust in intuition requires practice and patience. The first step is learning to recognize its voice amidst the noise of the mind. This involves creating moments of stillness, whether through meditation, reflection, or simply pausing to listen. In these moments, we can begin to discern the subtle signals of intuition from the louder, often chaotic thoughts that dominate our mental space. It also requires an openness to experimentation, following intuitive prompts and observing where they lead. Over time, this practice builds confidence as we see how often our instincts guide us toward choices that align with our values and goals. Trusting intuition also requires letting go of the need for certainty. Intuition does not come with guarantees or detailed explanations. It often leads us into the unknown, asking us to take a leap of faith. This can be uncomfortable, especially when it challenges conventional wisdom or conflicts with what others expect of us. Yet, it is in these moments of trust that we often discover the most meaningful outcomes. Intuition aligns us with our authentic selves, guiding us toward decisions that resonate deeply, even if they defy logic or tradition. Another aspect of trusting intuition is understanding that it thrives in a state of presence. When we are caught up in past regrets or future anxieties, we disconnect from the immediacy of intuition, which speaks in the now. By grounding ourselves in the present moment, we create the conditions for intuition to flourish. It is here, in the space of full awareness, that intuition becomes a reliable compass, pointing us toward what feels right, even when the path ahead is unclear. Intuition is also deeply connected to the divine. It is one of the ways God, or the universal wisdom, communicates with us. When we trust our intuition, we are not just trusting ourselves, we are trusting that we are part of a greater flow, one that is guiding us toward our highest good. This trust requires humility, an acknowledgement that we do not always have all the answers, and that some of the most important truths cannot be understood by the mind alone. Trusting intuition is an act of faith and self-empowerment. It invites us to honor the wisdom that already exists within us, to step into the unknown with confidence, and to embrace the guidance of a deeper knowing. When we trust our intuition, we align ourselves with the rhythm of life, making choices that are not just practical but deeply resonant with our true selves. It is a journey of rediscovery, reminding us that the answers we seek are often closer than we realize, quietly waiting for us to listen and follow. Becoming the listener is an art that requires us to step away from the noise of our thoughts and the distractions of the world. It is more than simply hearing words or sounds, it is about cultivating a deep, attentive presence that allows us to truly perceive and understand what is being communicated, both externally and internally. This act of listening is transformative, for it connects us to the essence of others, the whispers of the divine, and the wisdom within ourselves. True listening begins with silence, not just the absence of sound, but an inner stillness. This stillness creates a receptive space where we can fully engage with what is before us. In a conversation, this means setting aside our own agendas, judgments, and need to respond. Too often, we listen to reply rather than to understand. Our minds race ahead, formulating responses or analyzing what is being said, which distances us from the present moment. Becoming the listener involves letting go of this tendency and offering our undivided attention. This kind of presence is rare in a world that values speed and multitasking. Yet when we genuinely listen, we honor the speaker and create a connection that transcends words. People feel seen, heard, and valued when we listen with our whole being. It becomes an act of love and compassion, a gift we give to others and ourselves. Listening in this way deepens relationships, fosters empathy, and opens the door to greater understanding. Listening is not limited to external communication. It is also about tuning into the subtler voices within. Our inner world is rich with insights, emotions, and guidance, but it often goes unnoticed because we are too preoccupied with external demands. Becoming the listener means paying attention to these inner whispers, the quiet nudges of intuition, the feelings that arise without explanation, and the thoughts that come from a deeper place. It involves creating moments of stillness in our day to check in with ourselves, to ask, what is my heart saying? What does my soul need? In this process, we also become attuned to the divine. God, or the universal presence, speaks to us in countless ways through the beauty of nature, the stillness of meditation, or the words of a friend. Thanks for watching.